Thank you for tuning in today for another episode of Talking Points with Preferred Health Magazine. Your host, Rachel Sokol, will be speaking with dancer, speaker, and author Chelsie Hill. Chelsie is the founder of the Rollettes, a Los Angeles-based wheelchair dance team that's committed to education, disability representation, and female empowerment. At 17 years old, she was involved in a drunk driving accident, sustaining a spinal cord injury that resulted in paralysis from her waist down. Turning pain into purpose, she has created one of the largest network of women with disabilities across the United States and around the world. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more inspiring interviews. And now on to the show.
Kind of been jumping into it. You wear so many hats. Obviously, you're known for the Rollettes and for speaking with teenagers. So, just kind of in speaking, working as a public speaker, you click really well with teens, and you can tell that just in your speeches and your energy and your YouTube videos. What what have teens done that have surprised you? What have you learned from the teenagers that you speak with?
That's a great question. I love being able to go and speak to teens because a few reasons. Like one, it reminds me of maybe like why this happened to me.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't really understand that part of it, but like for me, I'm like, there has to be a reason why this happened to me. And then also too, like I love how like innocent that they are at that stage and so vulnerable at that stage because I remember being in high school and feeling like that was like the end all be all and like
No,
college just seemed so far away and like
I know.
high school was everything. So I feel like what I've really learned is that that age is a lot more vulnerable than I ever thought. It's such a like integral part of their life of high school and I didn't really realize that. So I understand now why my parents were the way they were,
Mhm.
obviously,
Right.
being where I'm at in my life. But yeah, I feel like I just really learned that that was really such a vulnerable part of my life and stage of my life. And I'm just so even more grateful now for the opportunity to have such incredible like friends and family to really help me get where I am today. And one of my favorite, like, I think I guess you could say one of my favorite like moments, one of many is after speaking at a high school up in Northern California, my like I think it was like 2 months later, my dad got a call from a parent that was at the high school, thanking them for having, you know, thanking us for having me and my dad go and speak. And I guess like a few months after I went and spoke, a car accident happened and there was two fatalities. And it was the father's daughter that called my dad. So I think I've
Wow.
learned a lot from that is that like when you can connect to other students, um, life-changing things can happen. And I just wish I had that, in my school. I wish I had like, a younger person come in and speak about something like this. So
You should be speaking in every single high school. But what's interesting is that it's 2025, obviously. We all know, like, don't drink and drive. That's obviously
yeah.
what you speak about to teenagers. Be careful about that. Do you have moments where you think or you hear a story and you think, I can't believe it's 2025 and people are still getting behind the wheel drunk and people are still getting into cars with people who have been drinking? Like, what is your advice on how we can still continue to get the message out there and like keep drilling it into everybody's head? Because it is still happening, the way
Yeah.
that you see people chain smoking and you're like, don't you know about
Yeah.
cigarettes? Like, how do you
Yep.
feel about that? What are we doing wrong as a society that this is still happening frequently, drunk driving and all that?
Yeah, it blows my mind that it's still happening to this day. I mean, people truly don't think anything will happen to them until it does. And,
Mhm.
I was, a product of that as well. Like I get that. But we also didn't have social media back in 2010, like when my accident happened. So like we didn't have it in our face all the time.
No.
People
We
think
had
they're
like
invincible.
MySpace or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
in
yes.
MySpace, and people weren't posting these types of things like,
Mm-mm.
PR and like the algorithm, all of that wasn't, news station wasn't what it
Mhm.
is today. So I think like for me, I think about this a lot and I'm like, for first of all, when my daughter goes to high school, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm terrified. But like I think about like the chain of command, right? So like yes, we have the students, then we have the parents, then we have the people that work at the school, and then we have the school districts. So we always have to start from the top. And for me, I'm like, how do we get into the school districts to make it mandatory for like
Mhm.
the every 15 minutes program to be in not every 4 years, but every 2 years, because every school is different. Like we had every 15 minutes when I was a freshman, but I wasn't drinking when I was a freshman. I wasn't going to parties. So I disassociated from what was happening because I was like, I don't know the people in the program. The Ever 15 Minutes program is incredible. But like, how do we get to the district level and make it mandatory for all high schools to have a program about drinking and driving? And then how do we bring in stories? Like that's what I really wanted to do when I first got injured. I was like, I want to be involved in every 15 minutes and I want to get into school districts and make it mandatory. And like, then people like at school districts don't understand how important it is until they're affected by it. Like the schools in Southern California, like really understand that it's so incredibly important to have programs like this, not just once every 4 years, but every couple years. And so there are a few program like school districts here in Southern California I've learned that really understand it. But I think it's like the parents need to rally and be like, we need more education because no matter if you think your child is partying or not, there's a huge percentage that they probably are, or they're going to be exposed to it, or they're going to be
Mhm.
pressured into it, or they're going to see it, off of campus. So to get the education going, and I never go in saying like don't drink, because if you tell a kid to not do something, automatically they're gonna be like, well, I want to try it. So I always go in with like, this is what happened to me. Hopefully you learned something from me, and then, move forward and showing pictures and showing my videos and stuff and being like, I know what it felt like to be in your shoes. So yeah.
Right. And you're open about that in all of your chats. For those who don't know, what is every 15 minutes?
So the Every 15 Minutes program is a program that goes into high schools and they stage a car accident out front of the high school. So they take two like cars. Every program is different, but they take two cars, they stage it out front of the high school, and then sound the alarms. They're like, accident has been happened out front. All of the students go out and they check it out and they watch how an accident, like what happens at the scene. The paramedics come, the firefighters come, the police come, they handcuff the drunk driver. Is taken out on a stretcher, like someone's screaming over a loud mic. It was interesting because actually, about a month after I got home from the hospital, our
Mhm.
one of our rival high schools um, actually had a every 15 minutes program, like a month after I got home. And they asked me to speak at it. And one of my best friends at that high school, her name is Chelsea. She
Mm.
was like screaming over the loudspeakers, like basically they were like replayed my role of like what happened to me. And it was like insane to watch it,
Mhm.
especially being so newly injured. But they like have people replay, they have people play different parts of it. And then um, they go back to the like their school like inside and then they play videos of like what happened, so like leading up to like pre-gaming before going to high school and then picking up their friends and then they get in the car accident, and then they show that like every 15 minutes the Grim Reaper comes in and pulls a student. So it basically shows that every 15 minutes somebody dies from a drunk driving accident. So it's very powerful, and then they have like memorial service the next day. The students who get pulled out don't go home, their parents, record videos. Ugh, it's like, ugh.
Sometimes I can't imagine. Sometimes kids need that. They need to see that
Yeah,
visual. It just doesn't really make sense to them, like you said, until they've been through it. It's such a
yeah,
powerful program, and
it is.
it's definitely one I would want to introduce to my kids' schools
Absolutely
for sure.
same.
Now, obviously, you are part of the Rollettes. You're the founder of it. You're CEO, right? Is the
Yeah.
official your official title. What's going on with the Rollettes right now and for the next few months? How many active members do you have at the moment? And tell us a little bit about what you're working on with them momentarily.
Yeah, so the Rollettes is a wheelchair dance team based in
Mhm.
Los Angeles, and we have a bunch of rehearsals and a bunch of performances coming up. We Summer is always really busy for us, so we have a lot of performances coming up. But the newest thing right now that we're doing is we have started a JV program. So I've been training kind of like the next generation of dancers here in LA, wheelchair dancers, which is really, really fun, really exciting, and I want this to like keep going. And, there's so many incredible dancers that have kind of just popped up out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, where'd you come from? Where'd you come from? And it's been my dream to be able to kind of start training this next generation of dancers. So I'm really excited to see that we're here. And yeah.
Now, a lot of people obviously know you through your reality show on the Sundance Channel, Push Girls. Would you consider ever doing, and that show was amazing, would you consider ever doing another reality show? You're pretty open about your life with your spouse and your daughter and just everything you've been through. Like, if the opportunity came again, whether it was through the Sundance Channel or another network, would you consider, letting cameras into
Yeah.
your life again?
That's a really great question because being part of Push Girls was honestly life-changing. I I'm so incredibly thankful for the opportunity that just literally landed in my lap. But I think at the stage I'm at right now, knowing how Push Girls was and knowing what it did for me, and what social media is, I would say I would 1000% do another show because what Push Girls did for me in 2010 and so forth, even till today, people still bring up Push Girls. It's still the only reality show about women in wheelchairs and how we lived our lives, about spinal cord injury, about what can happen, about female empowerment, about sisterhood. Like, there hasn't been anything like it, and it's 2025. So to me, I'm like waiting for the day that a show comes up because people don't realize how interesting our lives can be. Yes, I'm disabled. Yes, I'm different, but also I'm a CEO. I run a nonprofit. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a wheelchair dancer. Like, I have a group of friends that are fun and crazy and outgoing, but our life is very normal and also very interesting. So I can't wait for there to be a show about, the disabled community, and not just like what you've seen, the last 10, 20 years, but like actually people with physical disabilities that you can see, or people who've been injured or chronic illness, and really educate the world about chronic illness and ambulatory wheelchair users, people that use a wheelchair but still can walk. Like, people are blown away. Like, one of my friends who is an ambulatory wheelchair user, I had no idea what that life was like, So, and I live with a disability. So I can't wait for that day. I hope it's soon.
Right. And you can actually still watch some episodes of Push Girls online. I think on YouTube, you can still download some of the episodes. It's like a small
Yeah.
charge. So we'll put that out there. I'll let people know you can
Yeah.
still go back and watch old episodes. I wanted to actually ask you about your wheelchair. I actually interview a lot of people who use wheelchairs because I speak with a lot of veterans as well. So I wanted to ask you, what kind of wheelchair do you use? Is it is it from Promobile? Like, tell me a little bit about what type of wheelchair you use and what happens if the wheels break or there's something happens, you got to get it repaired. Does it run on batteries? Just tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
the wheelchair itself. I think people are curious, like, what is it like to have one and
Yeah.
to use it every day? And the wheels are really strong to do all the
Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah. It's interesting because before my disability, I had no idea about this world. And I realized very quickly how incredibly important it is to have the right type of wheelchair. A lot of people are like, oh, you just go home and you have a wheelchair from the hospital. Like, even the wheelchairs that you get sized from the hospital are not right. Like, because your body changes so much. And unfortunately, every 5 years, you get a wheelchair through insurance, which, I mean, some people don't even, one, they don't even know that. And two, they can't really get the right chairs. So for me, I have a Tie Light, which is by Permobil, and I love my chair. My Tie Light ZR is incredible. I've had this for over 10 years. And I swear by it. I, I also, a lot of people don't realize how incredibly important the cushion is. So if I'm sitting 24/7, or, say 12, 18 hours a day, when I'm sitting down, if I'm doing pressure releases, it's because I'm trying to really relieve the pressure off of my butt because I don't want to get a pressure sore. And that's can be very deadly.
Mhm.
But I sit on a Roho cushion, which is all air. So basically, I'm sitting on a cloud all day. I still have to do pressure releases, but I have to be very mindful of it. So sitting on air versus like some cushions are like a gel. I went home with a gel cushion, and nobody told me that you have to like unzip it, take out the gel, massage the gel, and then put it back. Nobody told me. So I'm sitting on gel over like months that's like hardened to be like, and then in cold weather, gel gets really hard. So it could be like sitting on cement. So a lot of people don't know that. But then I also use a smart drive, which is a power assist device that hooks onto the back of my chair. And basically, I have this knob on my chair, and I can just turn it, and the smart drive will push me. So it's really amazing. It helps cut down on pushes. I actually used to work for the company Smart Drive before it was sold to Permobil, and I was a spokesmodel for the company for about 6 years. And I learned that, an average day, a wheelchair user will push about 3,000 times, like actually going like this, 3,000 times. So our shoulders, our rotator cuffs are going to be like shot by the time we're like 50. So then what? Then there's transfers that we can't do in and out of bed, on and off the toilet, in and out of the car, on and off an airplane. Then we start to really slow down. So the Smart Drive really just helps long term, just not, put too much wear and tear on our shoulders. And this year I actually found that I have a tear in both of my shoulders. So that's scary. But yeah.
And I find all that interesting because I think you brought up such a good point where people think like, oh, you get a wheelchair from the hospital and that's the one you use and that's it. But there's so many, it's almost like every individual who uses a wheelchair, it's customized for them. And these little things people don't think about, like the cushioning and the effect on your shoulders is so important. So thank you for telling our listeners and readers about that. I think it's such an important topic. Um, Now, kind of just moving on a little bit, what else are you working on this summer? I know a lot of charities are near and dear to your heart and, just kind of raising awareness about, still dancing when you have a disability. Just, I want to know what else you're working on, other projects you're working on for the next few months through the end of the year.
Yeah, so every summer, so I started this kind of get together back in 2012, and it was just called like a dance camp. And I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't really know like what it would be. But as a dancer growing up my entire life, I started competing nationally and regionally when I was 5. I realized at a very young age I really wanted to be a professional dancer. Long story short, when I was on Push Girls, I reached out to girls on social media and I was like, hey, do you want to come dance in my hometown? And 6 of them said yes. 6 out of 6 said yes. And so my dad went around and, went to like different dance studios and restaurants and was like, hey, my daughter's going to have, some girls in chairs come in, blah, blah. Anyways, in 2012, I started this like idea of a dance camp. And after the first year, my dad was like, what do you want? And I was like, I want a ballroom full of women dancing in wheelchairs. And he was like, all right, let's, keep reaching out to more people. Long story short, every year I had a dance camp. And that's when I started the dance team Rollettes. And then I moved to Los Angeles in 2014. And then I reached out to other choreographers here in LA. And I was like, this is what I'm doing. Long story short, I started an event called Rollettes Experience, which is an all women's wheelchair empowerment weekend for women and children with disabilities. And for instance, in 2017, I invited about 32 people. I think like 19 of them or 22 of them were young adults. The rest were kids. And there was three different countries there. It was here in LA. I had Airbnbs. I had people like, driving them around in rental cars. And then 2017, I had like 32. And my manager at the time, he came in to help and he was like, what do you want to do? Like, what is this? Like, I hear all these conversations the girls are having. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want a ballroom full of women dancing in wheelchairs. Like, that's what I want. I just want to empower more women. And he was like, okay, if you get 100 girls there, I'll get a ballroom. And I was like, first of all, you're crazy. Second of all, I don't know 100 people, let alone women that want to dance, that want to come to LA. This is impossible.
Right.
So I was like, all right, power of social media. Let's see what happens. Put it out on social media. That next year, we went from 32 to 115 from 14 countries. And it was the
Wow.
most incredible experience to be able to sit on that stage, hold a mic, and look out at 115 women and children from 14 countries that are just staring back at me. Oh, I still get chills. Like, and that's when I knew that Rollette's experience, our nonprofit, is so much bigger than me. And still to this day, we have about over 300 women in wheelchairs that come. And we have dance classes, seminars, panels. We have parent coffee chat. We have parents dance class. We have kids classes, kids art classes, parties at night. We have a pool party. I mean, it's the most incredible 4 days. But then on top of that, seeing all these women and children come in from all over and being able to see them from social media to in person is truly incredible. So my heart and soul, so back to your question, my heart and soul is purely Rollette's experience. I mean, I love doing work with like Shane's
Mhm.
Inspiration, like Inclusion Matters. They do accessible playgrounds. They are amazing to be able to go and bring my daughter to an accessible playground and get to roll around. Like there's so many incredible organizations that I love to be able to like, give time to. But Rollette's experience is literally what I live, breathe. And that's what we're working on for 2026 is hopefully making it smaller and then doing an East Coast and West Coast. So
That's amazing. What do you mean by making it smaller? Do you mean like, can you
So,
elaborate on that?
so for me, everyone's like, "Why do you want to make it smaller? Keep it big." Is
Mhm.
like, I because we're such a small organization, we look really big, but we're such a small organization. So I feel like I want to cap it at a certain amount of people, on the West Coast to
Mhm.
then be able to put more resources and like, time to like plan an East Coast.
East
So like
Coast. Yeah.
make West Coast a little bit smaller just so we can like plan it
Mhm.
better and like, have resources there, but then also for East Coast make it like happen because we've never done anything on the East Coast.
That makes sense. I love that so much. And you're from Southern California originally, right?
I'm actually from Monterey, which is like
Okay.
Central California.
Central.
So
Okay. Gotcha. I'm from
yeah.
New York. You're talking to me from New York. So yeah, I
Okay.
figured as much. But you're in LA now, though,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I moved here in 2014.
Great. Now, before I guess you call it before the incident, the accident, what
Mhm.
you did compete in different dance competitions. What kind of dance were you doing mostly in these competitions? Was it hip hop? Was it lyrical? I'm just curious what you
Yeah, I
were
did.
competing in.
I did like hip hop, jazz funk, lyrical, contemporary,
Mhm.
and then pom as well.
Gotcha. And which choreographers today really inspire you, whether they're in a wheelchair or not, today and in the past and just in general?
So I would say like in the past, I would say like Paris Global, Ian Eastwood. I mean, that those are the ones that like I think when I was first injured, I was like, oh my gosh, like I would love to be able to be trained by them, especially like it was like right at the cusp of being paralyzed and like still walking. And then these days, I would say it would be Hamilton Evans, G. Madison, Cedric Botello, Richard LZ. I mean, Chris Scott's amazing. We just got to work with Chris Scott, who's the choreographer from Wicked. He came and taught at our convention. So, yeah, I really love working with choreographers and that are not disabled, especially because like they kind of look at things a little differently, and it's an opportunity to educate too. But yeah,
It teaches them something as well. They're so
oh
used to
yeah,
teaching choreography with people who are not in wheelchairs, with those individuals. And just really, I don't want to say humbles them, but it really teaches them a
yeah,
different way to
yeah,
choreograph, I'm sure, working with you. Now, just two more questions. Tell us a little
yeah.
bit about your daughter. Does she like to dance? Do you ever spin her around in your wheelchair? Like, what kind of music does she
Oh
like? Is
yeah.
she a future competitive dancer?
You know, I feel like everyone's gonna expect like me to be like that crazy dance mom, which I don't know, maybe I might turn into that. I have no idea. But she is in dance classes, so she's only 2.5,
Right.
but she's in dance classes. So she's in like Happy Feet, which is so amazing. And she's building like a lot of really great relationships there. She's also doing the My Gym, like, baby gymnastics. So I am getting her into classes. But I do want to make sure that it's something that she wants to do. Like I don't ever want her to feel like I'm pressuring her to do it because that's what my dream was. So I want to make sure that I always stay very clear on that like just because that's what I've always wanted is my daughter to like also be a dancer. If she doesn't want to, then she doesn't want to. But I mean, part of me does hope and pray that she does go down that path because I do feel like dance really did teach me a lot about like working with the team and a lot about like who I am as a person and really made me like the core of who I am. So I hope she does take on dance, but also it's totally up to her.
Right. I love that. I have my older one doing tap and hip hop, and I didn't put her on the competition team, and she didn't want to be on it because she just wants
Oh,
to do it for fun.
yeah,
Like she
of
doesn't want to
course.
feel pressured. And, I'm so
Yeah,
not a dance mom. So I understand. And I think it gives her confidence. But yeah, and if
yeah,
my daughter says she doesn't
yes,
want to do it anymore, that's fine too. And I understand that.
yeah.
And kind of just in wrapping up, and your replies have been wonderful. And it's an honor to talk to you. What
Thank you.
is your travel advice for those individuals who travel with a wheelchair, whether it's just general advice for getting on an airplane or getting in a car for a long road trip? Just what
Mhm.
advice you have for someone who thinks like, I can't go anywhere. I'm in a wheelchair or a power chair, or what little
Yeah.
secrets have made traveling easier for you? What hacks do you have?
So I would say, first off, traveling is so much fun, even with the disability.
Mhm.
Yes, there's extra layers to it, but as soon as you get those extra layers down and you know how to communicate what your needs are, traveling is a breeze. I would also say my second point is don't get scared for about what you see on social media about traveling with a disability. A lot of the, videos that you see are really just to purely educate the airlines on like this piece of device, this wheelchair is our legs, and if it's damaged, we basically, if it's damaged, it'd be like breaking your leg, So a lot of the videos that are out there are purely just about educational things. But I would say like my step by step would be like making sure that the airlines knows you're in a wheelchair before getting there. If they don't, then make sure you check a bag and then tell them like I need an aisle chair, I need assist. Get there early, definitely. Make sure you don't pack any of your medical equipment in a checked bag. Bring all your medical equipment on with you in a carry-on, no matter what. And then when you get to the gate, make sure you get your wheelchair tagged with a gate claim ticket. So when you get to your next destination, your wheelchair is right there. And then when you get to the gate, just make sure, hey, I need an aisle chair or whatever assistance you need. I always board first, no matter what. Like I'm the first person on. I try to get there, before anybody else and anybody
Lucky.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone else with a disability because it does take us a little bit longer, especially with me and then my daughter and then all of our luggage. So like it does take us, 5 minutes. So yeah, I mean, traveling with a wheelchair is great. It's a breeze, especially when you get it down. And then also a lot of airlines have a wheelchair closet. So you can ask them, hey, can I put my wheelchair in the closet? And you show them how you break your chair down. And sometimes they'll even put it in the closet so it doesn't go underneath the plane and get damaged.
Oh, that's great to know. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I've seen you ask people this question, so I'm going to flip it and ask you, what is the biggest misconception about wheelchair users that you want our readers and viewers to know?
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my daughter
Oh,
singing.
I don't
Um,
actually, but that's so cute.
um, I think the biggest misconception, I think the biggest misconception that people think about people with disabilities or people in wheelchairs is right away they think, oh, they can't. And a lot of people, because they're just not educated or they don't have someone with a disability in their life, they don't realize that there's so many things that we can do instead of we cannot do. Like, yes, we may not be able to run on the beach, but I can go zip lining. Yes, I may not be able to, walk down the aisle, but I can walk down the aisle with leg braces. Like, there's so many things that people don't realize that we can do. And, I remember on Push Girls, one of my mentors said to me, I may not be able to do it walking, but I can still do it. Like I may not be able to run a business as like everyone else walking, but I can still run a business. So it's just, I wish people would change their mindset a little bit and not judge a book by its cover. But I think that's also the fun in it. We get to educate a lot of people.
Right. Thank you so much, Chelsea. It was great chatting with you. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed our conversation. I will let you
Thank
get
you.
back to wearing your mom hat right now for the next few
Thank you.
hours, and I know what that's like. If I have any further questions, I will definitely reach out to
Yeah,
Caitlin and the Anderson team. But
amazing.
the main thing I wanted to ask her was they did send me some pictures of the
Okay.
Rollettes, and I couldn't download them. I don't know
Oh,
why. So I don't know. It could have just been my laptop, but I'll reach out again and see if they have any other high-res images of the team
perfect.
themselves. And just in wrapping up, would it be okay if we mentioned like your daughter's name or age in like a little
Yeah.
write up? Okay, I just wanted
Yeah.
to ask because she's a
Yeah.
minor. So I wanted to just say, like, oh, she's a
Thank
mom, she's a 2 year old. So make sure that
Appreciate
was
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks so
Um,
much. It was so nice chatting with you.
Thank
And I'm so
you.
excited to see where the future of the Rolex goes. And we'll have the Anderson team stay in touch with us with any updates until we
Perfect.
print this. Thanks so much. We'll
Amazing.
send a link. And
Thank
again, I'll
you.
reach out with future questions. Best of luck to you, Chelsea.
Thank you so
Take
much. Have a
care.
good day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.